Hello there. We've got a simple math problem today. It's 12 minus 2 times 3 plus 2 times 2 equals what? So fairly simple, just multiplication, addition, and subtraction. And all right, if you'd like to, you can pause the video here at this point and work this one out yourself. It's pretty simple, and we'll come back and work this out together. All right, so first of all, 2 is wrong and 34 is wrong. And I know a lot of people leave these two answers, and I'm going to go through and explain why these two are wrong. All right, so we got 12 minus 2 times 3 plus 2 times 2. Now, let's look at the order of operations. A lot of people have forgotten this, but basically you've got four basic steps to this. It's parentheses, then you have exponents. It makes up an acronym, basically. There's an acronym called PEMDAS, and step number 2 would be exponents, but that also includes factorials and square roots as well. Basically anything that is shorthand for repeated multiplication. And then step number 3, you have multiplication and division, left to right, basically. Whatever order you see them in going left to right, you just solve that first. So if you see division going left to right, you solve that. If you have multiplication going left to right, you solve that. This is one of the areas that people really mess up the order of operations. They assume that multiplication is before division if they learn PEMDAS, and of course people that learn BODMAS, they think division is always before multiplication, so they get confused. But addition and subtraction is step number 4. And again, addition and subtraction have equal precedence. Subtraction is just adding a negative number. All right, so with that in mind, we're going to move on and do the problem. And we look, we don't have any parentheses, we don't have any exponents, factorials, square roots, but we do have multiplication. There's no division here, but we do have multiplication. We have 2 times 3, we have 2 times 2. 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 2 is 4. So we're left with 12 minus 6 plus 4. And I know a lot of people are thinking, well, gee, that's really simple. 12 minus 6 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people who think this results in 2, and we're going to get into that and why people think that. All right. And again, I touched on this a bit before. All right, so this is where a lot of people get confused about not understanding an acronym like PEMDAS or BODMAS.
You've just won a free mathematics lesson.
PEMDAS is not a magical 6-step checklist.
All right, so where a lot of people get confused here is they think that addition has to be forced somehow before subtraction. But 12 minus 6 plus 4 is, you go through it, you have 12 minus 6 equals 6, 6 plus 4 equals 10. And there are a lot of people out there who are trying to insist that 12 minus 6 plus 4 is equal to 2. I'm going to show you why that's not true. Those who are confused give the answer of 2. They literally do not understand how to add and subtract. And this is where it's really sad. They believe they understand PEMDAS is telling them the answer is 2 because they believe somehow that addition comes before subtraction. 12 minus 6 plus 4 is equal to 10. 12 minus, and then if you put the 6 plus 4 in parentheses, that does equal 2. But notice this negative sign does not affect the 4 unless you have parentheses around the addition. So what they're doing is, in their mind, they're trying to force this addition and then do this subtraction. But that's not that's not what PEMDAS is telling us to do. PEMDAS is not a 6-step checklist. Again, you need parentheses to get 2. PEMDAS is not a mystical chant. I've gone through this with so many people. There's hundreds of people out there who literally think PEMDAS is a 6-step checklist. All right, so think about it this way, all right? For those who still think it's a 6-step checklist, if you have $12 and you spend $6, you've got $6 left, right? And then if you find $4 in your shoe later, you now have $10. So it should be pretty obvious. When you use money in this, it starts to make more sense. There's no way that 12 minus 6 plus 4, written this way, equals 2. All right, we've already been through this one. It's PE and then M and D. M and D, multiplication and division, have equal precedence. Addition and subtraction also have equal precedence. All right, and then other people are going to say, well, I learned BODMAS or BEDMAS or BIDMAS. Well, guess what? They're all the same. They all mean the same thing. In other countries, instead of using parentheses, they use the term brackets. They might use indices or orders instead of the word exponents. But basically, they all mean the same thing. And it doesn't matter if the D is written before the M or the M is before the D in the acronym. Multiplication and division have equal precedence. Addition and subtraction have equal precedence. Then the other incorrect answer we talked about was 34. 34 is obviously wrong. All right. Now, it's never been 34, but I will still hear a lot of people use this tired excuse of back in my day, it was 34. And that's a very common excuse that people use who forgot or basically never paid attention. But the truth is, nobody was born before the order of operations, and nobody here was born before the invention of hardcover mathematics books. All right. And all you got to do is open up your Webster's dictionary and look at the definition. Multiplication, pretty simple stuff. The act of or process of multiplying, the state of being multiplied. Now, this one here is really critical. This 2a, a mathematical operation that at its simplest is an abbreviated process of adding an integer to 0 a specified number of times, and that is extended to other numbers in accordance with laws that are valid for integers. Now, that sounds almost like lawyer speak, but basically, I can interpret this for you and say what this is telling us is multiplication is literally defined as repeated addition. It's like shorthand. It's like the court reporter in the courtroom that writes in shorthand um, to save time, to be able to write a whole lot of words in a really short period of time. Well, that's what multiplication is, because something like 5 times 5 is the same as 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. A lot easier to write it as 5 times 5. So keeping that in mind, you should understand that multiplication already has precedence. All right, and if we look at that again, that definition, and we look at our problem, we can start to understand that 2 times 3 is the same thing as adding 2 3 times. 2 times 3 is nothing more than 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. So this is why multiplication has priority over addition and subtraction. Same thing with 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is the same thing as adding 2 twice. 2 times 2 is equal to 2 plus 2 equals 4. All right, you would need parentheses again to get 34. That's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. To get answers of 2 or 34, you would have to have parentheses to change the order of operations. You would need parentheses around 12 minus 2 around the subtraction, because 12 minus 2 would then be equal to 10. 10 times 3 is 30, and then 30 plus 2 times 2 would give you 34. Now, these are textbooks. The one on the left here is from 1922, and if you look at this really closely, it talks about the order of operations and how parentheses, express the fact the quantities within need to be taken as a group. It also explains to us that multiplication and division signs take precedence of addition and subtraction signs. So it's all explained in here, and this is a book from 1922. So when you hear people say it was 34 back in my day, etc., that's never been true. There's not regionally written textbooks that are different from everybody else's. If you say, well, I'm from the UK or I'm from India or I'm from Pakistan or wherever, it's not different. It's the same everywhere. And here's one from the 1950s, the same thing. It explains the order of operations, and it does explain how you simplify within parentheses, and then you perform multiplication and divisions from left to right. Finally, you do additions and subtractions from left to right. So it's all pretty simple stuff. But, a lot of people are going to say things like, but my calculator says 34, or it says 64, or whatever. Well, a lot of people don't really understand how to use their calculator. There are different input methods. If you use a computer and you have it in scientific mode on that calculator app, you're going to get the correct answer of 10, because In scientific mode, the calculator is working in what's called expression mode, and you can see the entire expression gets entered. But if you're just working in standard mode, you might end up with an answer like 64, because it's basically processing each operation as you enter it before you enter the whole expression and then hit the equal sign. So again, calculator input methods, they refer to ways calculators interpret and process the sequence of keys you press to perform calculations. So something like your little dollar store calculator that you bought, for $1, those things are pretty cheap. Different calculators use different input logic, which affects how you enter numbers and operations. So there's some main types. I'm only going to talk about two of them. There is another one called reverse Polish, uh, or RPN. Well, we're not going to get into that one here, but you have immediate execution, which is single step. And this is where people get confused. This type of a calculator, which I just showed you the example of a computer in standard mode with the calculator, performs each operation as soon as you press the operator key. So as soon as you press the plus, the minus, the times, the division, it performs the operation without waiting for you to enter the full expression. Well, you're going to get the wrong answer that way. And the only way to get around that would be with parentheses or by doing the higher precedent division, by doing the higher precedence operations first. So an example would be 5 plus 3 times 2. In immediate execution mode, the calculator is going to compute 5 plus 3 and give you 8. Then it's going to multiply 8 times 2 and give you 16. This type of calculator does not follow standard mathematical precedence because it's calculating each operation as you enter it. When you use that type of a calculator, you need to understand the order of operations, and the way you get around that is you actually have to, on your calculator, perform the 3 times 2 first and get 6, and then add 5. But you have to enter it that way into that type of a calculator. So this is very common in really basic 4-function calculators that are mostly used for adding numbers, maybe multiplying a couple numbers together. Very rarely would this type of a calculator be used to enter a long expression with multiple operations. And so that's where people end up getting the wrong answers. Now, the other method is formula entry. It's also called expression or algebraic entry. But in this type of a calculator, you're able to enter the entire expression as you would write it on paper, and then the calculator evaluates it after pressing equals or enter on the keyboard. That's the big distinction. So when you take something like 5 plus 3 times 2, you're going to get the correct answer of 11 because it follows the operator precedence. It does the multiplication before addition. It does that for you. And that's the big difference. These cheap little 4-function calculators, you have to do the multiplication first yourself. But if you don't understand the order of operations, if you forgot what you were taught, you're not going to know to do that. So this formula entry or expression entry is common in scientific and graphing calculators. All right, so hopefully that's been helpful. And if that's been helpful, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and look forward to seeing you in the next video.